20th of January, 2024. And tomorrow is Ekadashi, in case I forget to remind everybody. So we'll have a short kirtan, and then we'll continue our reading. Jai. Namo Vishnu Padaya Radhikaya Priyatmane Shri Srimad Bhakti Vedanta Narayaniti Namine Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Iti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Dishatarine Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Gaura Prasthaya Bhutale Shri Srimad Bhakti Pragyana Keshaviti Namine Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Iti Namine Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadha Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ramo 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 Hare 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 Krishna Oh Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ramo 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Rama Oh Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Krishna Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare Hare Oh Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Ramo Ramo, Hare Hare, oh Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ramo, Hare Ramo, Ramo Ramo, Hare Hare. O Nitai Gaura Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Gaura Hari Bol, Nitai Gaura. Jaya Nityananda Rai, Jaya Nityananda Rai, Nityananda Rai, Jaya Nityananda Rai. O Jaya Sachinandan, Jaya Gaura Hari, Sachinandan, Jaya Gaura Hari. O Jaya Radha, Madana Mohan Radha, Madana Mohan Radhe. Jaya Radhe, Jaya Radhe, Jaya Radhe, Jaya Shri Radhe. O Radhe, 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 Radhe. Jai Shishi Guru Garanga Ganhavika Girihari Radha Madan Mohan Ju Ki Jai Nityananda Rai Ki Jai Sachinandana Gaura Hari Ki Jai Jai Madan Mohan Ju Ki Jai Brishabhanu Nandini Vajeshwari Radharani Ki Jai Jai Shila Bhakti Vinod Thakur Ki Jai Surabhi Kunj Ki Jai Jai Nitya Lila Pravishta Om Asto Tarasata Shishimad Shila Bhakti Vedanta Narayan Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai Jai Nitya Lila Pravishta Om Asto Tarasata Shishimad Shila Bhakti Vedanta Swami Shila Prabhupada Ki Jai Jai Nitya Lila Pravishta Om Asto Tarasata Shishimad Shila Bhakti Pragyan Keshav Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai Jai Jagat Guru Nitya Lila Pravishta Om Asto Tarasata Shishimad Shila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Prabhupada Ki Jai Jai Paramahamsa Mahabhagavat Shila Gaur Kishodas Babaji Maharaj Ki Jai Jai Saptam Goswami Shila Satchidananda Bhakti Vinod Thakur Ki Jai Jai Vaishnav Sarvabhauma Jagannath Das Babaji Maharaj Ki Jai Jai Shila Baladevi Dibhushan Gaudi Acharya Ki Jai Jai Rasik Sirumani Shila Vishnath Chakravarti Thakur Ki Jai Jai Narottam Srinivas Shyamananda Prabhu Treya Ki Jai Jai Shila Krishna's Kaviraj Goswami Ki Jai Jai Shri Rup Sanatan Shri Bhatta Raghunath Shri Jiva Gopal Bhattadasa Raghunath Sad Goswami Prabhu's Ki Jai Jai Swarup Damodar Rai Ramananda Gauda Parsada Ki Jai Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai Prem Sika Holsi Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasati Shri Gauda Bhakta Binda Ki Jai Shri Antadvip Mayapur Simantadvip Gautandvip Madhyadvip Koladvip Ritujit Janadvip Motandvip Rudradvip Atmaka Navadvip Dham Ki Jai Shri Radha Krishna Gopa Gopi Go Govardhan Dwarasavar Matmaka Brajamandal Ki Jai Shri Radhakun, Shamakun, Ganga Devi, Jamuna Devi, Tulsi Devi, Bhakti Devi Ki Jai. Shri Mati Brinda Devi Maharani Ki Jai. Shrimati Yogamaya Punamasi Devi Maharani Ki Jai. Jai Gopishwa Mahadev Ki Jai. Jagannath Baladev Subhadra Sudarshan Chakra Ki Jai. Ketra Mandal Ki Jai. Sarva Vigna Vinashakari Shina Shingadev Bhagavan Ki Jai. Bhakta Prabha Shri Prahlad Maharaj Ki Jai. Chari Dham Ki Jai, Chari Sampradaya Ki Jai, Chari Acharya Ki Jai, Akada Mat Raj Shri Chaitanya Mat Ki Jai, Devananda Gaudiya Mat Ki Jai, Shri Keshavji Gaudiya Mat Ki Jai, Shri Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai, Harinam Sankirtan Ki Jai, Anantakota Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai, Samagata Bhaktarinda Ki Jai, Gauda Premanande, Hari Hari Bol. Om Megina Timirandasya Gyananjala Shalakaya Chakshu Unmilitam Jena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Gurave Gaurachandraya Radhikaya Tadalaye Krishnaya Krishna Bhaktaya Tadabhaktaya Namo Namaha Priya Swarupe Dayata Sarupe Prema Sarupe Sahajabi Rupe Nijana Rupe Prabhueka Rupe Tatana Rupe Swavilasa Rupe Anapita Chirim Chirat Kurunaivaratino Kalo Samadapaitam Unnata Ujvala Rasam Swabhakti Shriyam Hari Purata Sundaratu Dikatamba Sadipita Sadahridare Kandare Swaratu Vasachinandanaha Yam Prabhajantamanapetya Krityam Dvaipaino Viraha Katara Ajuhava Putre Titam Mayatayo Taravo Binidustam Sarvabhutam Hridim Munimanatosmi Bhaktya Vihina Aparada Lakshay Shiptascha Karmadi Tarangamadye Kripa Maitvam Sharanam Prapana Prinde Namaste Charanaravindam Vajami Radham Aravinda Netram Smarami Radham Madhurashmitasyam Vadami Radham Karuna Bharadram Tato Mamanasti Katyana Kapi Tavaivasmi Najivami Tvaivina Iti Vignaya Radhe Tvam Nayamam Charanantikam. I'm first of all offering millions and millions of Dandavat pranams unto the lotus feet of my beloved Gurudev, Nitya Leela Pravishta Om Asto Tarasat Shishimad Shila Bhakti Vedanta Narayan Goswami Maharaj. And I'm offering the same again millions and millions of times unto the lotus feet of our beloved Nitya Leela Pravishta Om Asto Tarasat Shishimad Shila Bhakti Vedanta Swami Shila Prabhupada. And unto our dearmost Namo Bhakti Vinodaya Satchidananda Namane Gauda Shakti Swarupaya Rupanuga Brayate Shila Bhakti Vinod Thakur Ki Jai, and all our illustrious Rupanuga Guru Vargya, and all the Vaishnava and Vaishnavi devotees of the Lord, my Dandavat pranams to all of you. Vanchakalpa Turubhyascha, Kripa Sindhabhevicha, Patitanam Pavanibhyo Vaishnave Namo Namaha. So, continuing with our Jaiva Dharma reading and our glorification of Jaiva Dharma with the Fal Shruti, the fruit of hearing. Shruti is hearing, Fal is fruit. So, we're into the last four,
831.
page 831. 831. Jaivadama pate se Shuddha Bhakti hoy, Jaivadamana padile kabe Bhakti noy.
One who reads Jaiva Dharma with faithful deliberation will surely attain Shuddha Bhakti. But one who does not read Jaiva Dharma can never attain Bhakti.
Faithful deliberation means soberly and seriously. It means I'm reading this with the intention of connecting with transcendence or connecting with the Supreme. This is possible, just like with Srimad Bhagavatam. When we absorb ourselves in Bhagavatam, Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada had said that Krishna's footprint is on every page of the Bhagavatam. And my Gurudev has said that Radhika's name is in every single verse. Actually, he said even more than that. He said every letter of the Bhagavatam represents Srimati Radhika. So if that's your focus, if you're thinking that, if you're hungry for that conception, then you'll perceive like that. So faithful deliberation means like that, that we have all seriousness and soberness in our study, in our reading of this amazing scripture. So, Arupanuga
Rupanuga Abhiman
Abhiman
Pate
Pate Drita
Drida Hoy,
Hoy,
Jaiva
Jaivadharma
Dharma
Vimuka
Vimuka
Ke
Ke
Dharma
Dharma
Hine
Hina Koi.
Koi.
Faithfully reading Jaiva Dharma will surely strengthen one's Abhiman as a Rupanuga, follower of Sri Rupa Goswami. One who is averse to reading Jaiva Dharma is certainly devoid of religious
Rupa
principles.
Goswami has given us the absolute jewels of this path in his Ujjvala Nilamani, Vidagdha Madhav, Lalit Madhav, Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, Upadeshamrita, what's that, Radha Krishna Ganadesh Deepika. These books take us right into the very heart of Vrindavan, and he's so mercifully just opened that out. He's directly speaking from the heart of Sri Radhika. Our line, our Guru Vargya, is coming from Sri Radhika. Mahaprabhu is in the mood of Radha. Radha Krishna Pranaya Vikriti Akladini Shakti Asmad Ekatmanav. Radha and Krishna have become one. So Mahaprabhu is there and he's speaking these truths to, not speaking, but enacting these truths in the Gambhira. And Rupa Goswami, he stayed for about 10 months and he perceived everything. And he also met Mahaprabhu in Prayag, where he received so much direct rays of his instruction into his heart. So he's the most qualified. We say every day, this Priya Swarupe, Dayita Swarupe, Prema Swarupe, Sahajabi Rupe, Nijana Rupe, Prabhueka Rupe, Tatana Rupe, Swavilasa Rupe. This means that he was the most qualified to actually receive and speak and teach this knowledge. Nijana Rupe, Prabhueka Rupe, Eka. He was the one to actually do that. So if we're not carefully focusing and connecting with Srila Rupa Goswami Pad, then we're not going to really progress correctly. My Gurudev used to hold a 4 or 5 day festival every year in around the month of July, August, in celebration of Rupa Goswami's Tirabhav. And he'd invite so many scholars and so many eloquent speakers. And for those 5 days, we would only glorify Srila Rupa Goswami Pad. So he can be glorified forever, every single day. So Bhaktivinoda Thakur, he's giving us this conception. He's giving us all the conceptions in this Falshruti. It's remarkable. They're all there, especially to be a Rupanuga, one who follows in the footsteps of Rupa Goswami, who is following the Ragatmika gopis. We are following the Ragatmikas. We are following them. But we ourselves would call ourselves Rup Anuga if we are immersing ourselves in the teachings and writings of Srila Rupa Goswami and Raganugas. We are Raganugas also. Okay. You finished that one? Yava jivane jay pada
Padi
jaiva
Jaiva
dharma
Dharman, Bhakti
bhaktiman
Mane
se
Se
janabrita
Janmavrita
jnana
Jnana
karma.
Karma. One who faithfully reads Jaiva Dharma throughout his entire life will be endowed with bhakti and will surely realize the futility of Gyan and Karma.
Yes, jnana and karma will just run away. We've understood in so many chapters that they are naimitic. What is naimitic and what is nitya? This is the distinction that has to be very much clarified in the sadhak's mind and heart. Like most of the pastimes in the 10th canto, they're all naimitic. Kamsa is naimitic. The demons are naimitic. But when we come to the Geets, for example, the Venu Geet, Pranaya Geet, Gopi Geet, Yugal Geet, Brahmara Geet, these are Nitya, fully, fully, fully. So those 5 life airs in the Bhagavatam are sufficient to sustain the entire potency of the Bhagavatam because they are directly the words and tears of the gopis. Geet, all these Geets are sung in moods of separation from Krishna. Venu Geet, they're sitting in their houses thinking of Krishna in the pasturing grounds. Pranaya Geet is remarkable because they've come in front of Krishna and Krishna sent them home and they're feeling separation from Krishna even though they're in front of Krishna. So this Pranaya Geet is really exalted. And then Gopi Geet, then they're in separation completely. Jayati te dikam janmana braja, etc. This is so beautiful. And then Yugal Geet, they're also in their homes and they're remembering Krishna. There's 24 or 12 couplets, 24 verses, just opening out the beautiful pastimes of Krishna. These are the Nitya pastimes. Because if we look in the 38th chapter of this book, it's got the Astakalya Lila in the 38th chapter. And in the Astakalya Lila, these are all the eternal pastimes. In the 38th chapter, Lord Shivji, he's speaking with Brinda Devi to Narad, and he's describing all of these, the 8 paharas of the day, the 8 yamas of the day, the Nishanta Lila, Prata Lila, Purvana Lila, Madhyana Lila, Apurvana Lila, Shyam
So,
Lila, Pradosh Lila, and
yeah.
Ratri Lila. These Leelas are all described in detail. So these are Nitya Lila. So the other is Naimitic. So Gyan and Karma falls completely into Naimitic. We're practicing our assimilation of knowledge, of vidya, because we have to purify the immense ignorance that we're in. So we need knowledge. We must have knowledge. Otherwise, the ignorance will just sit there like a lump of garbage. It has to be purified with knowledge, with clear siddhanta. And it's not difficult. It's just because the heart will dictate, yes, that's right. Yes, that's right. Yes, that's right. Automatically the heart will confirm the correctness of Siddhanta. There won't need to be any more doubts. If there's doubts in the consciousness, then how can you move along into sixth gear, seventh gear, eighth gear? You can't. You're holding back all the time. You got your hand on the handbrake because you have some doubts. We don't need to have any doubts. The heart will reveal or confirm the truth as we read it. So Gyan and Karma are nimitic. Krishna Ramala
Amal
Seva
Seva,
Labi
Labi
Senara
Sayadara,
Seva
Suki
Sukhi
Magna
Magna
Rahe
Raha
Sada
Sada
Krishna
Krishna
Para.
Para.
Such a man, being fully devoted to Shishi Radha Krishna Yugal Kishore, and having attained their Amal Prem Seva, remains forever merged in the bliss of such immaculate loving
Oh,
service.
when will that day come when I'll be fully devoted to Radha and Krishna's Seva? We should all be thinking like this. When will that day come when I won't have any other consideration? This will be the priority and focus of my life. How can I connect in service to Radha and Krishna? It doesn't mean you have to separate yourself from the whole world physically. It's just every activity that's going on, you're seeing it connected with the Lord. Whatever the activities are, you get a flat tire when you're driving your car, and you think immediately, oh, what's Krishna teaching me now? You can approach everything very, very positively. Some discomfort comes. Oh, what is Krishna trying to teach me now? Some sickness comes. So many different difficulties come. That's what the material world means. Conditioned life means adhyatmic, adhibautic, adidevic. These three miseries are there. And we're controlled by the material modes of nature. So there's going to be difficulties. But if we relate them all to Krishna, every single one, I've said many times, Srila Bhakti Rakshak Sridhar Maharaj, he said the environment is always favorable for bhakti. It's always favorable. Give me an example of when it's not favorable. There isn't. We look at the story of Prahlad Maharaj. It couldn't be more unfavorable having such a demonic father, throwing him off cliff tops, trying to freeze him to death, poison him, throwing him to snakes, trampled by elephants. He couldn't be more unfavorable than this. And yet his nishta didn't waver a fraction. So this is pure devotional service. And this Jaiva Dharma will carry us to that conception. It's a process. It takes time. It's not going to happen overnight. We need to immerse ourselves in these teachings and pray for the mercy of Guru and our Guru Vargya, of all the person of Bhaktivinoda Thakur, all these persons, Srila Rupa Goswami Pad. If we pray to them, certainly every single morning when we first rise, my Gurudev used to say, before your feet touch the ground, you should say your prayers to the whole Guru Vargya. Instantly, you're connecting from the very moment we rise. Sleep is ignorance. That's tamagun. So climbing out of tamagun first thing in the morning and offering prayers to all our Guru Vargya with careful intention, not just rattle, rattle, rattle like a robot or a parrot, but try to remember each personality as you say them. Because each personality is unique and different. They're all different. Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur was so different to Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati. Srila Gokishore Das Babaji Maharaj, so different. Srila Bhaktivedanta Swami, he was in the householder business for so long previously. Srila Bhakti Keshav Maharaj, very strict. my Gurudev. They all have their characteristics and specialities. And the more diligently we take their shelter, the more opportunity we will have for their mercy. And we need their mercy, unless we think that we're already so qualified. But that's not the nature of a devotee. A devotee's thinking is so unqualified, and we need their mercy. So we've come to page 143, and I would like to get to the end of this chapter today, but I don't think I'm going to, but we'll try. It's very intense, the rest of this chapter. We spoke about the Grihastha ashram, and now this chapter is going to talk about the renounced ashram. And Bhaktivinoda Thakur is going to give us the bar, so to speak. What is the correct mood to enter into that ashram? It's very, very high. So we'll read it through, and I'll try not to speak too much because I actually want to read more than speak today. So I'll try if it's possible. So I'll just recap. So we've been hearing about the Grihastha ashram and the steady nature of it. Bhaktivinoda Thakur has been recommended that this Grihastha ashram is good for this age because you can't become more fallen than being in the Grihastha ashram. So I read my Gurudev's footnote, which balances things out, because my Gurudev is making space for the brahmacharis and the sannyasis. They have to be acknowledged and be given encouragement to go into that ashram, but the qualifications are very high. So we'll start in the middle of page 143, Yadav Das. If Grihastha Bhaktas are so highly respected and dear to everyone, why do some of them renounce householder life? Good question, huh? If they're so good, why do they leave their householder life? Anantadas, some Grihastha Bhaktas are eligible to renounce their householder life, but such Vaishnavas are very few in this world, and their association is rare. So he's starting off by showing its rarity. Yadav Das, kindly explain how one becomes eligible to renounce household life. Anantadas, human beings have two tendencies, Bahirmukh, pravriti, the outward tendency, and Antarmukh, pravriti, the inward tendency. You see, Mataji was asking me about the different Sanskrit words. It's explained every time. It's there. The Vedas refer to these two tendencies as being focused outwards towards the external world and focused inwards towards the soul. It doesn't mean materially introverted necessarily or materially extroverted necessarily. It means my desires are not in the material world, they're more internal. It doesn't mean that because you're born an introvert, it's not talking about material characteristics here. That's not the meaning, not the real meaning. It's to deliberately look within to the soul's welfare and not spend a lot of time building temples and running around in the external world, but trying to focus internally to connect, unless we've been instructed by our guru to build temples, etc., etc. When the pure spiritual soul forgets, did I read all of this?
Yes.
When the pure spiritual soul forgets his true identity, he falsely identifies the mind as the self. This is very thick, dense. You have to listen carefully. Although the mind is really only a part of the subtle material body. What is the subtle body? Mind, intelligence, and false ego. That's the subtle body. You can't see it. It's subtle. So the mind is subtle. Having identified with the mind in this way, the soul takes assistance from the doorways of the senses and becomes attracted to the external sense objects because the soul has given, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati describes the exact terminology, the power of attorney over to the mind. You understand what power of attorney means? It's like if you go to a lawyer and you give him the keys to everything you've got. You give him your bank accounts, you give him everything. You give him the power of attorney to act favorably on your behalf totally. So the soul has given the power of attorney to the mind. So when the mind opens these windows of the senses, the soul is going to follow and become also attracted to the sensual objects. This is the outward tendency when you go through the windows of the senses. The inward tendency is exhibited when the stream of consciousness reverts from gross matter back into the mind and from there to the soul. Actually, particularly while we're chanting our Diksha mantras, this is a perfect example of how to follow the inward tendency. Because in the mantras, actually, my Gurudev said you should not even move your tongue while you're chanting the mantras. So while you're chanting the mantras, you're focusing on the meanings of the mantras. And I know sometimes devotees can forget which mantra they're up to or what the exact meaning of the mantra is, because the mantras are so powerful, they carry you into the subconsciousness. They connect you with the soul. If we're saying our mantras carefully, they will take us into, that's why we have to be focused and careful when we're saying them to stay on track with the mantras where it's going, but they will carry us internally. That's these Diksha mantras, they don't go across the Viraja River, they don't go into the transcendental world, but they support our journey to that boundary into the transcendent. They connect us with Sri Guru through our sambandha, especially the Guru Gayatri, Guru mantras. They are connecting us fully, solidly with Guru and with Gaura Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. The Gaura Gayatri and Gaura mantra, they connect us solidly. If we're really reflecting on those personalities while we're chanting, they will give us so much inspiration and direction to come to their lotus feet. And then Krishna, the Gopal mantra, the Kambij mantra, these mantras at the end. And then we always conclude it with the Maha mantra, which is even more powerful than the Diksha mantras. Don't doubt it. But perhaps we become somewhat habituated to the Hare Krishna mantra and we don't recognize how potent it is. But when we just say the Diksha mantras 3 times a day, we can be more exclusively focused. You understand? But they will carry us into the subconscious. One whose tendency is predominantly outward must conduct all external tendencies offenselessly with Krishna at the center. Yes, if he's going to do pure bhajan, then everything has to be without offenses. We mentioned just briefly yesterday about Jagai and Madai. Mahaprabhu goes black when he's taken all those, and all the devotees see he's become black. And he tells all the devotees, this blackness will come into your heart if you commit offenses to my devotees. It's a very serious thing, because this blasphemy of devotees is the greatest obstacle to achieve. Krishna will never look at that person who has blasphemed the devotees. So we must be super, super cautious of this injunction. And it's mentioned everywhere, but it will carry us away from Krishna if we blaspheme. We should accept the various idiosyncrasies and anomalies and deficiencies within each other and not have expectations that all devotees are going to be like little pure devotees. They're all struggling with their own different mental capacities and the rest of it. Everybody is. No one's freed from that. So everyone needs some encouragement, not condemning. That doesn't help anybody, and it certainly, certainly doesn't help us. External tendencies offenselessly with Krishna at the center through the strength of sadhu sangha. Yes, through the strength of sadhu sangha. If one takes shelter of Krishna bhakti, these outward tendencies are quickly curtailed and converted to the inward tendency. So this means it doesn't have to be our nature to be introverted. These outward tendencies will, by considering, if Krishna's at the center, you naturally develop a philosophical outlook. You can't help it. I mean, we're talking about the Supreme Personality. Naturally, you have to have a philosophical, um, mood to go forward and to appreciate the amazing philosophy that's presented. The philosophy comes into the intellect. It satisfies the mind. Ultimately, it's the heart that has to come to Krishna. The mood has to come to Krishna, but the mind has to be satisfied with the philosophy. So here it's saying, if one takes shelter of Krishna Bhakti, these outward tendencies are quickly curtailed and converted to the inward tendency. When the direction of one's tendency is completely inward, the eligibility to renounce household life is born. But if one gives up household life before this stage is reached, there is a significant danger of falling down again. The Grihastha ashram is a special school where the jivas may receive instructions regarding Atma Tattva, spiritual truth, and be given the opportunity to develop their realizations of such matters. They may leave the school when their education is complete. That means the inward journey has become very significant and has become so relishable that the practitioner doesn't want to go anywhere else except take that inward path. All the time he's wanting to be a little bit more reclusive, a little bit more solitary, a little more alone. Alone means actually in the company of sadhus. It doesn't mean necessarily sitting on a hilltop, but at the same time, restricting our external interactions can be very beneficial for the practitioner to become thoughtful and reflective. We see all the different traditions, the Christian mystics, etc., the Sufis in Islam, all these different traditions, even the Confucius individuals, Taoism, and so on, all the yogis, all are becoming somewhat solitary. But Bhakti Pragyan Keshav Maharaj describes that um, in those 10 verses at the back of the songbook, where he gives his Upadeshavali. He describes that what does living alone mean? Living alone means living near in the proximity of sadhus. But you don't have to have 100 sadhus to live with. You only need one or two. You don't need a huge institution. That could be very confusing. It doesn't necessarily help. Sometimes we seek that through security reasons, that I feel secure in a big group. But that's an external thing. We're trying to turn this around more internally. The big, large group can be very distracting when we're a little bit older in our practices. When we're younger, it's very, very good. Our training, scheduling, etc., learning how the process of devotional service works. But as we get a little bit older, you want to spread your wings a little bit. And with an institution, you can never do that. They have to clip the wings because institution means control. There has to be a controller in an institution, otherwise, it's not an institution. But Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati, he said very clearly that an institution without a Mahabhagavat at the head is no better than a society of drunks, because there's some twist on the truth towards sense gratification. If they're not completely pure, they're going to be looking for a material advantage. And we see it billions of times. In India, they call them God men. And we see them falling down, practically one a month. Different, they have huge organizations and people and so on, and then they just fall down. So we're discussing what is the eligibility for the renounced order. Yadav, what are the symptoms of a bhakta who is eligible to give up householder life? Anantadas, he should be free from the desire to associate with the opposite sex. He should have unrestricted mercy towards all living entities. That's two. That compassionate mood should be there. If you just go away on your own, close all the doors, and you're not helping and supporting the conditioned souls, what really is that? If Krishna gives you some knowledge and some realization, and then you just close it all for yourself. That's not going to make your bhakti flourish. We're in this world. We have duty, a mission to support Mahaprabhu's mission. He should be completely indifferent towards endeavors to accumulate wealth, and he should strive only in times of need to acquire food and clothing suitable for maintaining himself. He should have unconditioned love for Sri Krishna. That's the big one. He should have unconditioned love for Sri Krishna. Should shun the association of materialists and should be free from attachment and aversion in life and death. Attachment and aversion are both are two sides of the coin that is negative. Have too much attachment or too much aversion. There's a middle road. There's a middle road where we're not too fanatically detached, and neither are we overly attached, but we're just residing comfortably, naturally. If it's not naturally, it's not. If it doesn't become the um, the mood of the soul, it's not going to sustain itself. If it's in any way forced, and some aversion is not the mood of the soul, and gross attachment also is not the mood of the soul. The soul is neutral to that. The soul is neutral to this material world. He wants neither. So it's like I often give that expression that don't have the string on the instrument too tight because it'll break, and don't have it too loose because it won't play. So we have to find our own personal balance. It doesn't mean because she has a certain balance that you've got to follow what she does. We've got our extremely unique individual circumstances, where we're coming from, etc., etc. And we each have our own specialities to determine what works for me, this individual. And then I can share the strength of my individuality with others, but we shouldn't try to imitate other people. That just creates an envious mentality. If I'm trying to imitate somebody, imitation is like an envy, it's coming from an envious source because we're trying to connect with the soul. And the soul is completely satisfied with who it is. You can't change the soul. It's happy in that place. And its rasa is also completely happy. It's like we often say Mother Yashoda. She's in Vatsalya Ras. Maybe she has some sort of inkling sometimes about Krishna with the gopis. And, the idea of being a gopi and enjoying her son would never even enter her mind. She's so completely satisfied. It's like in this book, we have Brajanath and Vijay Kumar later on. And Brajanath, he's a cowherd boy. He has a desire to be with Subal in the fields. And Vijay Kumar, he wants to make garlands for Lalita. They both have different rasas. And neither of them want to be what the other is. Because if we think about ourselves, for example, you're completely satisfied with who you are. You don't ever, you might admire somebody else, but you don't want to be somebody else because it's not our soul. These are very simple matters. Okay, so unconditional love for Sri Krishna should shun the association of material and should be free from attachment and aversion in life and death. Shrimad Bhagavatam describes these symptoms as follows.
सर्वभूतेषु या पश्येत् भावमात्मानं भूतानि भगवति आत्मानि एषा भगवतोत्तमः.
One who sees his own mood of attraction to Sri Krishna Chandra, the soul of all souls in all jivas, and who also sees all living entities residing within the shelter of Sri Krishna, is an Uttam Bhagavat. In Srimad Bhagavatam 3:25-22, Bhagavan Kapila Dev describes the primary characteristics of sadhus.
मयि अन्येन भावेन भक्तिं कुर्वन्ति ये दृढः मत्कृता त्यक्ता कर्मणस्त्यक्ता स्वजनं बान्धवः.
Those who worship no one but me, and who therefore engage in firm and exclusive devotion unto me, give up everything for my sake, including all duties prescribed in Varnashram Dharma and all relationships with their wives, children, friends, and relatives. These are the qualifications for those who are qualified to leave the household of life. And we read the gopis completely fit this bill. They ran from all of this and more. It is also stated in Srimad Bhagavatam 11.2.55.
विसर्जति हृदयं न यस्य साक्षात् धरीर्हवा अवाभसितोऽपि अगाहुतौ नाशः प्रणय रसन्यद्राताघ्रिपद्म स्वभवति भागवत प्रदान उक्तः.
If one utters, even without intent, Sri Harinam in an offenseless mood, at once heaps of sins accumulated through many lifetimes are destroyed. We see in the form of Ajamil, committed so many sins, married a prostitute, 10 children, but simply he chanted without offense. This was his great fortune. Jagai and Madai also the same. They committed so many atrocities, but they never committed Vaishnava aparad. So therefore they were eligible for the mercy of Mahaprabhu and Nityananda. Ajamil was eligible for the mercy of the Vishnu Dutas coming, responding to his calling of the name. Such a person thereby binds Sri Hari's lotus feet within his heart with ropes of love and is considered the best of bhaktas. When these symptoms are manifest in a grihastha bhakta, he is no longer suited for engagement in karma, and he therefore renounces householder life. Such nirpeksha bhaktas, renunciants, are rare, and one should consider himself extremely fortunate to attain their association. We should grab that association if we find it. Yadav Das. These days, young men often renounce householder life and adopt the dress of the renounced order. They establish a place for sadhus to congregate and begin to worship the deity of the Lord. After some time, they fall into association with women again, but do not give up chanting Harinam. They maintain their hermitage by collecting alms from many places. Are such men Tyagis or Grihastha Bhaktas? Anantadas, your question raises several issues at once, but I will answer them one by one. First of all, eligibility to renounce householder life has nothing to do with youth or old age. Some Grihastha Bhaktas are qualified by the sanskars acquired in this life and previous lives to give up householder life, even while they are young. For example, Sukadev, previous sanskars enabled him to renounce household life from the moment of birth. One should see only. Did I miss a page? One should see that this eligibility is not artificial. If real detachment awakens, then youth is not an impediment. Yadavdas. What is real renunciation and what is false renunciation? Anantadas. Real renunciation is so firm that it can never be broken at any time. False renunciation arises from deception, dishonesty, and the desire for prestige. Some people make a false show of renunciation to gain the respect that is offered to nirpeksha bhaktas and have given up householder life. But such false detachment is futile and complete. The symptoms of his eligibility for detachment disappear and depravity sets in. These are wonderful instructions. I was reading this before and it's like the law book of Manu. Bhaktivinoda Thakur is putting down these golden rules for us to appreciate significantly this understanding of renunciation. Yadav Das, does a bhakta who has given up household life need to adopt the external dress of a renunciant? Anantadas, Nirapeksha Akinchana bhaktas who have firmly renounced the spirit of enjoyment purify the entire world, whether they live in the forest or remain at home. Some of them accept a loincloth and worn and torn clothes as external signs to identify them as members of the renounced order. At the time of accepting this attire, they strengthen their resolve by taking a firm vow in the presence of other Vaishnavas who are in the renounced order. This is called entrance into the renounced order, or the acceptance of appropriate garments for renunciation. If you refer to this as Beka Grahana or Vesha Grahana, the acceptance of the dress of renunciation, then what is the harm? It supports the ashram. That's the purpose of it. It distinguishes you apart. For example, if a sannyasi comes to someone's house, he doesn't have to engage in lots and lots of small talk. Immediately they will offer him a seat and he can immediately begin to speak Harikatha, which is what he really wants to do. So that avenue is open in the renounced order. But if you're wearing white, etc., then perhaps there's got to be a whole social interaction and so many different things. Whereas in the sannyas order, it's much more easy to actually share these transcendental truths. Yadav Das, what is the purpose of being identified by the signs of the renounced order? Anantadas, I've just said this. It is very helpful to be identified as a member of the renounced order. A renunciate's family members will no longer maintain a relationship with him and will easily give him up. This is in Indian culture. In Western culture, they don't even know about the renounced order. It doesn't make any difference to them at all. It just doesn't compute. So for Westerns, it's not so meaningful in that regard. He will no longer desire to enter his house, and a natural detachment will awaken in his heart with a consequent fear of materialistic society. It's good, healthy. It is beneficial for some bhaktas to accept the outward signs of renunciation, though this may not be necessary if detachment from household life is fully matured. It is said in the Srimad Bhagavatam 4:29-46, Sajahati matim loke veda cha parinishtitam. A bhakta who has received the mercy of Bhagavan gives up attachment for all worldly activities and for all ritualistic duties prescribed in the Vedas. I was just thinking of the example when the bhakta never thinks that he's liberated from material desires. There's the example when Mahaprabhu was going to perform at Chandrasekhar's house that beautiful drama where he was enacting um, Lakshmi Devi, and it was going to be very esoteric drama, and he drew a line in the sand at Waitracharya, Nityananda, all the devotees were there. And he said, all those devotees who have controlled their senses fully stand on one side of the line, and all the other devotees who haven't controlled their senses stand on the other. They all stood on the other side. None of them think proudly, oh, I have given up all this. Because as soon as you think like that, bang, Maya Devi will give you the greatest attraction, just blow you out of the water that you never really expected at all. You know, we're not like Haridas Thakur, who can sit and have the allurement of Maya Devi herself. She comes herself and tries to allure him. But eventually she takes initiation from Haridas Thakur. Haridas Thakur is the bar, so to speak. He's the um, example to aspire to follow in his footsteps. Oh, where are we up to? Here. Okay, a bhakta who has received the mercy of Bhagavan gives up attachment for all worldly activities and for all ritualistic duties prescribed in the Vedas. Yes, he doesn't have to do Sandhya Vandana. We've already been through that in chapter 3 and chapter 6. There is no injunction for such bhaktas to accept the outward dress of renunciation. It is necessary only as long as there is some dependence on public consideration. So it can be very helpful. We have to also make another consideration here to think when a Mahabhagavat advents like Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada or my Gurudev, they need an army of renunciants to propagate their mission. So they will make someone who is not particularly qualified into a sannyasi is described like on a battlefield when many soldiers are dying and the officers have been killed, then some recruit or a general soldier has to be suddenly put in the officer's situation, position to carry on the battle, so to speak. So many times when a Mahabhagavat comes, he will put unqualified disciples into those positions, knowing that by his mercy, because he's strong enough, if that Mahabhagavat knows his own potency, that he will support that new sannyasi through his journey. And he knows that by associating in that ashram, that gradually, he will become qualified for that ashram by the association. I can remember personally in my own life when I was a very young devotee, maybe 2 years old in New Govardhan in Mawulambar, I was suddenly made the temple president. I had zero qualification for anything. But because I was physically a little bit older and I had collected a lot of money on the street, that's how they gauged it would be good, which is absurd. Anyway, I recognized that by actually getting into that service, then Krishna just gives you the intelligence how to deal with it, how to navigate through it. And the same in the sannyasa ashram. Guru will come and give that mercy to help you navigate through, even though we're utterly unqualified, according to the precepts that Bhaktivinoda Thakur is saying here. And there's another couple of pages of them. We haven't really even started the heavy ones yet, but see how much a little bit more we have to read. Yeah, no, from whom should one accept the renounced order? Is this what we're up to?
Yes.
Anantadas. One should accept the renounced order from a Vaishnava who is situated in the renounced order. Grihastha Bhaktas have no experience of the behavior of renounced Bhaktas, so they should not imitate anyone. So they should not initiate anyone into the renounced order. The following statement of the Brahma Vivart Purana confirms this.
अपरक्षितो अपरिक्षोपदिस्तां यत्लोक नस्य तद् भवेत्.
One brings ruination to the world if he instructs others in religious principles that he himself does not follow. A grihasta, even though he may be of the most exemplary type, does not know what it's like to actually be in the renounced order fully. He hasn't experienced it. Because it's like 24/7 you are on stage in the renounced order. Wherever you go, whatever you say, however you move in the world, someone's going to be looking at you and taking notes on your behavior. Whereas in a grihasta, that's not the situation. There's billions of grihastas wandering around. No one's examining them. But someone in the renounced order, wearing the cloth of the renounced order, he's going to be examined at every step of his way. If he goes to the market, if he goes anywhere, he's going to be like, therefore 24/7, he's on the stage of that ashram externally. Yadav Das. What criteria should a guru use to offer initiation into the renounced order? Anantadas. The guru must first consider whether or not the disciple is qualified. He should see if the Grihastha Bhakta, on the strength of Krishna Bhakti, has acquired a spiritual temperament characterized by qualities such as full control of the mind and senses. So that's really high to begin with. Has the hankering for wealth and the satisfaction of the tongue being uprooted or not? Am I hankering for special doshas, special idli? Is that my hankering? Do I want some sort of special sabji? Is that my, am I desiring in that way? The guru should keep the disciple with him for some time in order to examine him thoroughly, and he may initiate him into the renounced order when he finds that he is a suitable candidate. Under no circumstances should he offer initiation prior to this. If a guru offers initiation to a person who is unqualified, he will certainly fall down himself. So we have seen this. We've seen all of these examples manifesting since Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada left this world. So many of those renunciants, because they lacked the powerful association, because they didn't come out of that society looking for association. That's their defect. They haven't honored the Gaudiya Mat sufficiently to seek association of older sannyasis. They've just sat in their own circle, so they haven't had any other elevated association to encourage them and inspire them to remain in that renounced. You have to have an example of someone in that renounced order, and his happiness and satisfaction in that renounced order is what's going to be convincing for somebody. If they're completely happy with the way everything is and they're not fanatically one way or not averse the other way, like I just described, then they're just settled and satisfied. Then that's a great inspiration for others. But if you don't seek that sort of association, how can you follow? You need that association. Um, Now I see that it is no light matter to accept the renounced order. It is a serious undertaking. Unqualified gurus are turning this practice into a common affair. It has only just begun, and there is no telling where it will end. Anantadas, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu severely punished Chota Haridas for a completely insignificant fault, just to protect the sanctity of the renounced order. The followers of our Lord should always remember the punishment of Chota Haridas. He looked at the niece of an old lady. He went to beg some rice. Chota Haridas, he looked, there was a niece with, my Gurudev explains, and he looked at the young niece with a lustful eye. Srila Bhaktivigyan Bharati Maharaj used to say, don't let your lust smear anybody. Don't smear them with a lustful look, because that will just create some sort of excitement in the opposite sex like that. So Haridas, Chota Haridas did like that. And Mahaprabhu was, even though Chota Haridas is an eternal associate of Krishna, of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, but he punished him to show everybody in the world actually the sanctity of this ashram. Yadavdas, I'm just reading a little bit longer because today's Saturday and tomorrow we're not meeting. Yadavdas, is it proper to construct a monastery and establish the worship of a deity after one has entered the renounced order? Pretty good question, huh? No. A qualified disciple who has entered the renounced order should maintain his existence by begging every day. He should not involve himself in constructing a monastery or in other grand enterprises. He can live anywhere, either in a secluded hut or in the temple of a householder. He should remain aloof from all affairs that require money, and he should constantly chant Sri Hari Nam without offense. So how do you reconcile Srila Bhakti Saraswati opened 64 monasteries? Huh? How do you reconcile? His father is saying like this. His father didn't want him to open institutions. He wasn't encouraging. We can read these pages. Opening an institution or your own monastery, your own mat is not encouraged in the sannyas order. But Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati's heart was so soft that he wanted to create a place where sadhaks could associate with each other, a safe place. So he was willing to sacrifice his own um, uh, desires, and he went into this material world through absolute compassion. That was why he did it. That was why he encouraged 64 mats to be manifested during it. He had a mission for Mahaprabhu, clearly, but for the regular sannyasi, it's just completely not encouraged to go and to try, unless your guru is ordering it, like in the ISKCON society originally, Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada would order his sannyasis, you go and open a temple here, you go here and you go there. He was wanting to spread this mission all over the world. So if you're carrying the order of your guru is going to protect you from any difficulty. But if the guru's order is not there, if you just whimsically think, oh, I'll go and open a monastery and make a comfortable place for the rest of my life to live, etc. This is not encouraged at all. Actually, listen, we'll just read this two more sentences. Yadav Das, what do you call renunciants who set up a monastery and then live like householders? Anantadas, they may be called Vantasi, those who eat their own vomit. He's not mincing his words here. He's being absolutely categorical here. This is not the purpose of the sannyas ashram, is to live in a monastery that he's created, because so many followers will come, so much pratishta will come, unless he's a Mahabhagavat, like my Gurudev. He opened up temples. He made sannyasis in the front line. He had a mission. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, same. They had missions to accomplish. Unless you're um, delegated with that type of responsibility, then it's not our job as sannyasis to open our own monasteries or ashrams or mutts. So many questions, I'm sure, will come from this, but we'll leave it for today and we'll carry on Monday in this same vein. There's a few more beautiful questions here, but he's basically, Bhaktivinoda Thakur is setting the bar, so to speak, and it's very, very high. And this needs to be set clearly so that no one thinks, oh, I just want to jump into that ashram for prestige or honor of the public domain. That's not the purpose. Number one purpose is to have so much Krishna Nishta in your heart. When Srila Govinda Maharaj was given sannyas, Prabhupada asked him one question. He said, are you able to live alone? That means a lot. Are you able to live alone? Do you need the whole public fanfare around you? Or can you live alone? Are you able to comfortably stay alone? That was the one question he asked him. Because Srila Gaura Govinda Maharaj, we know historically, he lived in Bhubaneswar for many, many years before that temple was manifest. But he was ordered by Prabhupada to build that temple. So there's a huge distinction when Gurudev gives you the order to do something. That eclipses anything. That goes above any other type of injunction. If Guru orders, Guru's word is the same as Krishna's word. Exactly. And if he is giving the order, then we do like that. So Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur ki jai, Gurudev ki jai, Ananta Kota Vaishnava Vrinda ki jai, Jaiva Dharma ki jai, Gaur Premanande, Hari Hari Bol. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ramo, Rama Ramo, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ramo, Rama Ramo, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ramo, Ramo Ramo, Dakota Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Golda Hari Bol, Nitai Golda Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Srila Gurudev Ki Jai, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai, Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur Ki Jai, Jaiva Dharma Ki Jai, Ekadasi Brat tomorrow Ki Jai, Gaur Premanande, Hari Hari Bol, Vanchakalpatarubhyascha, Kripa Sindhaveva Patitanam Pavnebhyo Vaishnave Namo Namaha.